we are going to be going through some really, really interesting tailgate food for you with a Lebanese theme. So Paul has been working hard for the last couple of hours to get a lot of this prepped for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments and we'll answer your questions. We also allow you to just unmute yourself if you can and ask your question. That's fine too. But we've got a lot to get through in the next 90 minutes. And it already smells amazing in here. So I wish you could all smell it, but hopefully you will be inspired to try this yourself if you're not already cooking along with us. If you are cooking along with us, let us know, and we might try to slow down a little bit if we can. But as you can tell from the recipes, there's a lot going on. So we're going to try to get through it all as best we can. So Paul, you want to just tell everybody what we're doing?
Well, first of all, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm not a chef by any stretch of the imagination, but I have some interesting family recipes to share, and we're trying to put a Penn State kind of tailgating twist on it. So the first thing that we are preparing is stuffed grape leaves. Right after a team's big win or after a big championship, right? You see the coaches break out the cigars. We used to call these little cigars. So we have our mixture here. We have our grape leaves. I guess the first thing that I'll talk about is the preparation. So the grape leaves come in a container with brine, right? So you have to clean off the grape leaves. So you rinse them, you put them in a bath of water with 2/3 water, 1/3 lemon, and you let that sit. Then you rinse them, and you have to cut the stems off of them, and so those are prepared. At the same time, you're sautéing and cooking your beef on the stove. Now, if you prefer, you can use lamb for either of these recipes that we're going to talk about today. You put some minced onion in there, some 7 spice or some Mediterranean spice, which we call Lebanese spice, and then the basmati rice to make the filling of the stuffed grape leaf. And then you go through the tedious job of trying to stuff them. So you grab your grape leaves there, and then you take a spoonful of the mixture. And you want to make sure that the ends are tucked over, that you're wrapping it.
Looks like a great technique. All right.
It is a technique.
It's a technique. Yeah. I'm sure your mother or your grandmother would have done it very differently, but
probably better.
Yeah.
Yes, much better with practice.
So one of the questions we saw in the comments mentioned that they couldn't find some of the things here around Penn State, but we are right here in State College, and everything is readily available here. We bought almost everything at Wegmans. We also for one or two things, but you said the labna you are able to find at Wegmans.
Yes.
I just happen to know that there's a great Middle Eastern market in the Hamilton Plaza here locally. So I went to the Middle Eastern market to get my labna and cracked wheat. But other than that, I know they carry both of those at Wegmans as well. So really, you should have been able to find everything here locally.
Absolutely. If you're looking for the labna, it is at Wegmans. It's near the cream cheese. So when you're looking for breakfast cream cheese, you'll be able to find it over there.
So there's a question about the rice. So it just said rice. Typically for us, I cook a lot of Persian food, Middle Eastern food. Right. We typically use basmati rice or jasmine rice. I think you could use just a regular short grain rice, but typically in the Middle East, we tend to use long grain rices. Bit more on the method of preparing the ingredients of so in the pot you're seeing there to Paul's right, you're going to see that underneath those lovely tomatoes, let me move over here, underneath these wonderful tomatoes, there are some slices of potato. So we sliced potato, we didn't even peel it, we sliced it fairly thin. We put those on the bottom layer. Then we took the tomato, sliced it again, fairly thin. And, you know, these are not to be really eaten. These are to protect the grape leaves when they're cooking. So you're just going to put the potatoes on the bottom, a layer of sliced tomatoes on top of that, and then you're layering your stuffed grape leaves all around that pot. And then we'll be adding some stuff to this pot before we cook everything. So Paul is diligently rolling more of our little cigars, as they're known in the Arabic world, to get this ready. We also are going to be showing you how to make some hummus. That's going to go in our 7-layer dip that we're going to be making. And we also are going to make some little amazing footballs, right, Paul?
Absolutely. One of the staple dishes at a Lebanese table, right? I think of going to my grandmother's on a Friday night, and there was never a main course, right? It was all just small plates full of
a mezza.
Exactly. And kibbe was one of the main staples. You'd have your kibbe, you'd have your labna, some jafado, which is like a rice and lentil mixture, all out on the table for everyone to try. So we're gonna try some kibbe balls, which are cooking right now over there in the stove. But we're gonna show you how to prepare those, and we've shaped them because we're going with the Penn State football theme. We've shaped them into the shape of footballs, and so we will be sharing that in just a minute.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. I'm sure they'll be fine. So while we continue to do that, one of the things I wanted to ask you also was a little bit more about your family background. So tell me a little bit about the Lebanese part of your family.
Sure. On my mom's side, my grandparents are both 100%. We're both 100% Lebanese. Their parents immigrated here from Lebanon. Our families, I was telling you off camera, our families from the northern part of Lebanon, in a town called Sgarta, which is just about like 50 miles east of Tripoli. So it's not on the coast. It's not on the border with Syria, which has allowed it to stay somewhat independent and intact and protected from all the strife that's going on over there. So they emigrated here. They moved to Scranton, Pennsylvania, which has a rather large Lebanese population in the west side of Scranton, and that's where they lived. That's where my parents grew up and met, and and that's where we would go wherever we lived. We would always make our way back to Scranton to spend the weekends with my grandparents, and so that's where we kind of fell in love with this food and the culture.
For those of you who this is your first World Kitchen, I'll just give you a little bit of background. We started World Kitchen at WPSU back in October of 2020 during the pandemic, basically because we couldn't do much else. You know, we were all forced to stay in our houses, and we found that this was a great way to kind of reach out to people and connect through the pandemic. And we got such a great following that we've been doing it ever since. This month we start season 5, so we're beginning our 5th year of World Kitchen. If you go to the WPSU website, wpsu.org, you can find all 42 of the archived World Kitchen episodes. And we have hit, oh my gosh, I don't even know, 25, 26 countries, maybe more. So go check that out. We do this once a month on a Sunday at 2 is our typical World Kitchen. And those are always available. Recipes are available in advance, and you can watch on that Sunday at 2 and then eat it for dinner that night, which is great. The one coming up on the 27th of October is going to be Chile. With a Hubert H. Humphrey Fellow who's here at the university for the year as a fellow, kind of like a Fulbright, but a fellow. So she'll be doing I think it's going to be a stone crab dip and some other things from Chile. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Somebody said they went to 2 Middle Eastern markets. Not sure which ones.
She's coming off mute. It sounds
local to me. I live outside Washington, D.C. You can find everything. I have one around the corner from me and one, I had a dentist appointment. I walked out. There's a brand new one there. I went in, but I had the incomplete list. And I talked to people and I showed them the list and I said, I'm familiar. I cook gourmet. I've been cooking for many, many years. I have made stuffed grape leaves. I have no idea, what kind of rice. And they said, well, don't you cook the rice first? I said, not when I do it, but I don't know. It was really, I can walk to the one market. So it's going to be really funny when I see, because I see the people frequently. He said, well, if you make it, let me know what you made.
Oh, interesting. So were they not Middle Eastern people working?
They are Middle Eastern. We have every nationality in Columbia, Maryland. It's like the
Yeah.
United Nations. And no, there were two men working and there were two women that were shopping. And it says in the original thing that got sent, and I'll call it a thing, it said Lebanese spices. It didn't say what it was. It didn't say how much. Go back and look at what got sent out. It was terrible.
Well, what I will say to that is I'm using family recipes.
Uh-huh.
And some of these didn't even have measurements. It was just a handful of this and a pinch of that, because that's how.
I learned to cook that way. I'm Eastern European background. I had good friends that were Italian. I grew up in a little town, and once a week, somebody's grandmother or aunt cooked something. We didn't know it was ethnic. We just know that if you went to XYZ's house, you got spaghetti with gravy. And, I know all that stuff. That's why this was so terribly confusing.
Yeah.
Right. You did bring up an important point, though, that it's important not to cook the rice before you put it in this mixture. So it should be the dry rice, because we're going to fill this with water. We're going to put juice over it, and then we're going to cook it, and it'll absorb all the moisture then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe what we could.
I'm sorry. Maybe if somebody proofs the recipe, because I've transliterated recipes from a glass of whatever, which was the juice glass that my tante had that had red marks on the bottom. I mean, I don't know how to cook like that. And this just really threw me.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean, because my husband is the Persian in our family. And so I've been cooking Persian food for about 40 years. And when we talk, even to this day, 40 years later, he'll say, oh, for 4 people, use 4 cups of rice. And I say, 4 cups of rice is way too much for 4 people. He means the cup that he uses that came, he got 45 years ago. So it's like a half. I got it. Rice. But yeah, maybe what we can do is go back through the recipes later, and especially the ones that are on the WPSU website. We can kind of edit them a little bit and maybe put some of these numbers in that you all are looking for. Oh, that looks great, Paul.
Yeah, let's get one more.
One more to fill in that little hole, and maybe we'll be ready to put this on the stove.
Absolutely.
So we think of World Kitchen as a culture show through the vehicle of food. So that's what I like to do. I like to talk to all of the guest chefs who come on about their home country, their home culture, why the food was important to them, how they learned to cook the food. And in many cases, it is a family recipe, like you're saying. And so, we typically, like last month, we had a couple of South Korean ladies come on and do South Korean food. And it was really interesting to watch the two of them, because they're not related. They didn't know each other before they got here to Central Pennsylvania. And they were making a dish that they both knew well, but they had very different ideas of how to make it. So for every person who makes a dish, there's probably a little bit different way to do it.
Absolutely. And this one is not the way to do it. But, as my
come on, with anything you do, if you do cabbage rolls, which everybody has a different name for, halushki, stuffed cabbage, same thing.
Yes.
You get the ordinary one, you get to the end, you want to make sure that the leaves end up even with the filling, and that never works, and you piece together them, and it always tastes wonderful.
Okay.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill this with water.
Okay.
And then if you have a small plate that would fit in here, because you don't want these to float.
Okay.
You want the plate to be able to hold them down. And then we will put them on the stove.
Okay. So you're gonna put water in, and did you say we're gonna add some lemon juice to that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll get you a plate for that.
You just want it to cover the top and then.
Okay,
And then,
and we will put this right on here to hold them down.
okay,
All right, and get it cooking.
absolutely. So
All right.
we are going to cook that for about 30 minutes.
You cook this with the lid on or off?
It says to cover, yeah.
Cover? Okay. All right, we'll get that going. All right,
All right.
I'll get this out of your way, and then we can start working on those kibbeh that you want to show everyone.
Okay, so. All right. Get out the area here. All right, the next thing we're going to show you is how to make kibbeh. And so we're going to start with some ground beef. You can use ground lamb. This ground beef has already been mixed with the minced onions. So you put the minced onions into it as well. And then I also put the allspice or the 7 spices into this mixture. And then you're going to mix it with the cracked wheat, or the bulgur wheat. And so you just.
And that bulgur wheat we did soak in advance.
That's right.
We put water on that and soaked it for quite a while. And the bulgur just absorbs all of that water. And so then you have to kind of put it in a sieve and press that water out of that bulgur wheat.
That's right. There's nothing about this is quick.
No.
Right. So it's a labor of love, if you will. So you go and you get that, you mix that all up. And then it looks like this when you're done. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to take a little ball of it and you're going to form it into, like I said, we're doing footballs today.
Mm-hmm.
So I formed them into little football shapes there. And then we put them on a baking sheet we put them on a baking sheet in an oven set to 350 degrees. And we drizzled it with olive oil over the top. And now we're cooking that for about 30 minutes. And
yeah. And so typically when you have the kibbeh, how is it served?
the kibbeh is served. Well, you can eat it. You can eat it just like that when it comes out of the oven. There's actually, if you would drizzle olive oil in here, this is called kibbeh naya, and so you would be able to eat this, but kind of like a steak tartare.
Oh.
We grew up eating raw meat as kids, and only now as adults
Don't do it anymore.
we kind of roll our eyes at
that you ate that raw meat.
That we ate that.
Oh,
But normally you get a piece of Syrian bread or a piece of pita, and you can roll it in the piece of pita and eat it like that.
Okay, great.
But when we were kids, we called them Lebanese hamburgers. So now the other way you can make these, if you don't want to make them into a ball, is to put them in a baking pan, a 13x9 baking pan, and spread it out across the bottom, and then you drizzle you pour the olive oil over top of that, and then you bake that in the oven. That recipe is 450 for 30 minutes again. So depending on how you want to prepare your kibbeh or how you want to eat it, you know, there's several different ways you could do it. There are recipes out there where you form it into a ball like this, and then you make a pocket and you put a stuffing in it to have the stuffed kibbe.
And what would that be?
It's a mixture of rice and pine nuts. So
Yeah. We have a Lebanese restaurant here locally in the State College area that does serve kibbe, but I can't remember if he's got any stuffing in his or not, but it is great. It's great taste.
And their grape leaves are fantastic.
Yes, they are.
The dolmas.
Yes. We have a number of great international restaurants here in the area that a lot of people I think don't think about going to. You know, we have the Greek restaurant.
Right.
It's really amazing. I love their stuffed grape leaves.
We had dinner last night at India Pavilion.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal.
Right.
So it's yeah, there's a lot of hidden gems here in State College.
So those of you who come back for alumni weekends or alumni weeks, there's lots to try out when you're in town. Absolutely. So now you're going to drizzle these with that olive oil and keep them moist.
Be a little generous on this.
Yeah.
Will some of these side comments that you've made be included in the recipes?
We can try to go through the recipes and add as much as we can do that.
Great, because if I had a recipe in front of me, I would be writing these things down, but I don't.
All right. So we will stick this one in the oven. And I think those might be a little bit longer. Give that another 5 minutes there while we move on.
So do you want to do the 7-layer dip? We'll start with making the hummus.
We have to make the hummus. Yes,
Okay.
we will start with making the hummus. There we go. All right. So here's your container.
All right. So this is something my grandmother did not use, but we're going to use a NutriBullet to mix the hummus. We have two cans of chickpeas, and so we will put all of this into a food processor. We'll mix it up, and that's going to be the base layer for our 7-layer Mediterranean dip. So
yeah, there's a can in each of those bowls there. All right.
Yeah, you do that. I'm gonna wash my hands.
Okay. There we go. And while Paul is washing his hands, obviously we call these chickpeas or garbanzo beans.
Right.
Paul is saying that your mom would be proud.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We, yeah, my mom, she just passed away in June and handed down all of these great recipes. So.
I think it's your dad that's saying.
Oh, it's my dad. Okay,
yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Dad. All right. All right. So then we have a half a cup of tahini. So we're gonna pour the tahini in there.
You need a spoon here.
Yep.
Give you a little spoon.
Thank you.
All right.
We got the tahini in there.
And we've got the 2 cloves of garlic.
The 2 cloves of garlic in there. And then we need the half a tablespoon of salt.
Okay. Salt
Is behind you.
Yes. Half a tablespoon or half a teaspoon?
Half a teaspoon, sorry. Teaspoon.
Okay, half a teaspoon. Would be 2 of those.
Okay.
Yeah, the chickpeas were drained. We didn't even rinse them. We just drained them. Yeah. Tahini, I got the tahini in State College at Wegmans. You can also get it at the Middle Eastern Market in Hamilton Plaza. I think I've even seen it at Weiss and Giant.
Yes,
the Middle Eastern section or the international sections there.
And
so
then
tahini's pretty common around here.
A 1/4 cup of olive oil.
Okay. Get your 1/4 cup. And let me open that
Sure.
other one. That'll be a little quicker to pour. Where did we put it? Oh, it's over here. right. There you go. So 1/4 cup of olive oil. What about like, we don't need any salt or anything like that?
We just put the salt in.
Salt,
Yeah.
right. That's it.
Okay.
All right.
So then we're going to put that in the food processor. Now you keep your olive oil close by because you can add more olive oil if you want a different kind of consistency. You can mix more to get the consistency that you're looking for.
All right. Our cord is not super long, so this is a
You just
little
go.
out of the shot, but we'll just.
There you go.
Shake it up a little. I think it's going to need some more.
Sure.
liquid. We're gonna need some more liquid in there.
Okay.
Get it open now. There we go. There we go. Stir it a little, maybe. Get down to the bottom there. Thick.
It is pretty.
Maybe next time do it in 2 batches. You have more headspace and airspace and it'll blend better.
Good suggestion.
Yeah. I think it still could use a little more
Yes.
liquid. Yeah. So I don't, you know what? The recipe that I like to use from a restaurant in Philadelphia called Zahav,
Okay.
he uses ice and he says it makes it really fluffy.
Okay.
So maybe we'll add
we
some
could try
ice.
that.
Yeah.
That'll also keep your blades cleaner while you're cooking. I've done a few of these things a few times.
Hold on, look at this. Very nice.
Maybe let's put a little bit. Did you put a little bit more?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Put more of it. Can't go wrong with olive oil. Starting to look more like hummus. All right. Maybe a little bit more. Alex, give me another scoop of ice, please. Real close. Really starting to look like hummus now. That's great. There we go. A little bit more. Get another scoop, please. Yeah. Okay, there we go.
That's great. I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna add that to my bag of tricks.
The ice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Zahav is a restaurant in Philadelphia. As I said, the chef there is Mike Solomonov, and he is amazing. If you ever get a chance to go to Zahav, do it. All right, there we go. Yep, scoop some out there.
Okay. So, like I said, this is going to be the base for your 7-layer.
Hummus. There we go. Alex, you want to go to the overhead so they can see that? There we go. So this is some beautiful hummus we got going there. Yep, I'll get a plate.
Excellent. All right. So we're just going to make a small batch here. But you start by, again, placing your hummus layer down. That looks great.
So the swirl is important.
Yeah, and you want it to be about, I would say about a 1/4 inch deep.
Mhm.
Just get it out. Yeah, those are good.
Okay, and put those over here on the stove. Our sous chef behind us here, Alex, is getting the kibbeh out of the oven to cool a bit, and we'll show you that in a little bit.
Okay, and we're gonna bring our other ingredients over here now.
Okay.
The
What
next,
do you need first?
we're gonna do the labna.
No. Okay. Just spoon.
So again, the labna, you don't want this to be as thick as the hummus layer.
So not quite a 1/4 of an inch,
Not
just
quite.
a
Not quite.
thin layer. Okay.
I happened to notice about 3 different types and wasn't sure what type, whether it made any difference.
Of labna?
Yep, 3 different, that was one of them, was green.
This
and
is just
other
called
ones that
creamy labna. I
Yep.
don't know.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
if I'm interrupting too much, but
Oh,
I
no, not
want to
at
be
all.
able to do this.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, at the Middle Eastern market here, they really only had 2 different kinds, and I just got the bigger container. Now, I don't know at Wegmans what you typically
Wegmans,
see.
it comes in like it looks like a 16-ounce sour cream
Mhm.
container. So that's the one that we normally use.
Okay, so it's the one that's round. Okay, because I have a Wegmans too, but I usually go to the Middle Eastern markets to get this stuff. And
Now,
they
this could
can't
be,
always answer the questions.
Okay.
you can do this with protein or you can do it without protein. This is just some shredded chicken. So you can put the shredded chicken as your next layer.
And we literally just purchased a rotisserie chicken already done.
Right.
And
Yay for you.
yeah.
Yep, and just place that over. If you want to keep this vegetarian, you can do it without the chicken, obviously. Next, we're going to do the cucumbers.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do, just going to spread the cucumbers around. And then we'll do the olives next. And we're going to take the tomatoes and we'll place the tomatoes on there. And then we're going to sprinkle some of these olives over top. Yes.
Pomegranate. So this is one of the beautiful, beautiful fruits of the Middle East that a lot of people here may not be super familiar with. So as you can see, this is a pomegranate. You know, they're available right now. I just got this one at Wegmans. So you can break it open and take all of these beautiful seeds that look like rubies, like jewels, and take them out of your pomegranate and sprinkle those over the top.
And you also can buy them already in a jar.
You can, but you know what? They are never fresh. I did see the ones when I was shopping yesterday for this event, and I looked at the ones in the container at Wegmans again. Wegmans is our go-to. They were very pale pink. They weren't red like this beautiful red fresh color. So I like to just do them myself. But if you,
I got it, but there are a couple kinds because pomegranate juice is all the rage. So they have to
yes,
take that out to squeeze the pomegranate. So they're in a little plastic thing, almost like a sour cream thing, but you can see through it and you can tell when they're bright red or they're not.
right, yeah. And then you would serve this with some pita?
You would serve it with some pita,
Yeah.
right? You could scoop some of it onto a plate. You could eat it. You can eat it directly with the pita.
Mhm.
So whatever your preference is.
Okay.
And so that's the 7-layer Mediterranean dip.
All right.
Very pretty looking.
Thank you.
And bring some of these lovely little footballs over to show you. Oh yeah,
Alright.
more olive oil, always more olive oil.
All right, so we put the, we showed you how to make the kibbe, and this is how it comes out. Whatever your best efforts are, it's hard to keep them looking like footballs. But do you want to try
They're
one?
sort of football shaped. Yes, definitely.
There you go.
All right. Break one in half, or you can eat the whole thing?
Just gonna-
Okay, all right, the whole thing there, huh? I'm gonna try it here.
You really want them to look like
Mhm.
footballs, you can break them in the little foil cupcake papers and squeeze them, and then they will be when you take them out.
Mhm.
Not the paper
Really
ones,
good.
but the foil
Really?
ones will do it.
You have to say it's good because you made it, but
That's right,
I
that's
did
right.
not, and I'm saying it's good, very good. So
Mm.
these are our little kibbe footballs. And again, sprinkle a little more olive oil on there. You
Right.
can never go wrong with more olive oil. It would also be great to eat it with some cucumber.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
it's Mediterranean, so
Mhm.
you can dip it in ziti sauce.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things you can do.
Sure, sure. Should we try a little bit of the 7-layer
You
dip?
could actually do something like this too, where you take some labna and you put the labna cheese on it.
Mhm. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Hang on, let me get another clean spoon out here.
I flip it
Try
up.
this peanut butter
Oh, I see it's up there. We're seeing you and not what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I just took a dollop of labna
yeah, just a spoon of
and
the
put it
lemon
right on the,
on what we were trying here. So just put it right there on your pita bread or on your kibbe and give that a taste. And then while we're doing that, Paul's gonna walk over to the stove and check on those stuffed grape
boy.
leaves that are cooking. They blew apart? Okay. All right, we'll try to find some that are stuck together. Here, let me try this. Yeah, Lebanon is very good with that. So the 7-layer dip, you also eat that with the pita bread, Paul?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we would take a little bit of everything here, the olive, the cucumber, the tomato, put that all in some pita and give that a try. That is some good hummus. You did great. All right, Paul is trying to see what he can find out, salvage over there with his grape leaves. He wasn't feeling like he was wrapping them quite well enough, so maybe they weren't tight and they kind of boiled loose a little bit. But I think any of these dishes, of course, probably take a little bit of practice, and you can make them your own. You know, if you'd rather have something a little different, you can always do that. Add some other seasoning, add some other vegetables, whatever you have on hand. But the traditional are what you're seeing here. So these are going to be really hot.
They are going to be really hot. So we're not going to probably try them on screen. And but again, the rice, the beef, the spice mixture, all in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is beautiful. You know, just the colors of everything make it lovely. The little football shaped kibbe, as you can see, they sort of kept their little football shape, and they're brown, so they look like footballs.
Right.
The pita, the stuffed grape leaves, I'm sure they'll taste wonderful. Even when things fall apart, they still taste great.
I'm sure they will.
And yeah, that hummus, like I said, I think that's a a little trick for everybody. If your hummus is not coming together the way you
Right.
want it to, throw some ice in there. Like I said, that's Mike Solomonov's trick that he taught us. So let's see, we have some more comments. Do you have to allow room for the rice to expand in the stuffed grape leaves?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. because
Yeah.
I didn't. So
Yeah.
yes, you do have to leave a little bit of room. Yeah, I again, I think it takes practice to kind of.
Use a little less filling and the same amount of greens, and don't feel like you have to pack them in. And
Yeah.
they'll stay together better.
Okay, just get a little bit here. Give it a taste. The flavor is there. Yeah, it's very hot, but the flavor is there. They just fell apart. Yeah.
You can taste the lemon.
Mm-hmm. Definitely taste the lemon. Yeah. Another thing that you can do, I pulled some out because it wasn't, I'm sorry, what is it, Alex? Is it 2 leaves for each grape leaf, for each roll?
That's how I was doing it to get a good roll.
It depends on the size.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the grape leaves.
Right. And I think if you have the one larger grape leaf, it probably holds together a little better.
Yes.
But another thing that we use, and I know that Lebanese folks also use this, is sumac. So when I first married my husband 40 years ago, and he was like, well, we need the sumac. And my grandfather happened to be there, and he was like, but sumac is poison. You don't eat sumac. And he was like, yes, you do. This is what it is. So anyway, it's a little bit sour, and it goes on top of everything in the Middle East. So you could add a little sumac to your grape leaves. You could add some on top of your, and it makes it even more beautiful, on top of your 7-layer dip. Even on your kibbeh, because we typically put it on kebab when we make Persian shish kebab. It goes on top of that as well. So sumac makes everything a little bit tastier.
Question: What do you know? What spices are in the 7 spice?
Well, where's the one that we had here? I wasn't 100% sure either. Where did that go, Paul?
I'm not sure.
I had an interesting experience. The original thing that came out said Lebanese spice. It didn't say anything. And I asked my friend at the shop, and I said, there's all this. And he said, well, what is it? The recipe isn't complete. And I said, you're probably right. And then I pulled 2 blends off his shelf. And I said, what's in these? Because it didn't say that. And I said, I'm surprised you can say that and sell that here, because people are allergic and you can't not know what's in a blend of something.
Right. So I know in Paul's case, they call it the 7 spices. That's just what they call it.
Right.
I don't know what they would call it here, because in Persian cuisine, we have something called advieh, which is also, I think, 7 or 8 spices blend mixture, which is probably the same thing that your 7 spices are, or close. But what I found that we think is pretty close is called baharat. I got this at Wegmans. So
I've seen that. So yeah.
Yeah, New York Shook is the brand of baharat, and it says it is black peppercorn, cinnamon, allspice, cumin, rose petals, spices, and sunflower oil. So I don't know what other spices, but that's what it says.
But at least this other literally said nothing. It just had this name. So
we're sorry about that.
This one is not
you.
There's a camel on it.
I got it. I got it. No, I've got Wegmans here too, but I tend to go to the smaller stores and keep them in business.
Sure. Like I said, it's called Global Foods here in Hamilton Square Plaza in State College. They've been in business for about 3 or 4 years now, and it is. I mean, when they opened, I was so happy, because I do have the ability to have my husband bring things back and forth from the Middle East, because he travels back and forth quite a bit. But when I'm in a pinch and I need something, I can always find it at that little global food shop. You'd be amazed what they pack in there. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all we have.
That's it. Any other questions? We will definitely update the recipes and get those out to you. Do we have a brand of extra virgin olive oil that you prefer? Again, I'm just going with the Wegmans brand, but I know there are better ones. There are fancier ones, more expensive ones.
I think it depends on what you're cooking. I mean, with what you've got and all the other spices and everything else, I found that a good light colored middle of the road, it from wherever is good.
Yeah, yeah. I decant mine into these little bottles, and you know, it's not super dark.
That's right. When I wrote the note, I said not too dark when you see what it is. And if anybody has a Trader Joe's around them, they have really good stuff too.
Yeah. Well, like I said, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Paul, for coming and doing this.
Thank you.
We will certainly eat it all, even if it did fall apart.
Absolutely. And thank you to all the Penn State alumni that tuned in for this special presentation. We are, I'm delighted to have been here. I'm honored to have been here. And so thank you for featuring, you know, some of my family's recipes and the Penn State Alumni Association.
Yeah. And
well, 3 cheers to both of you. Thank you. It's wonderful. A cousin of mine who just passed away was the president of Penn State Alumni Association for many, many years.
Oh, Tom Hollander?
Hollander, yeah, that's my cousin. And we've been very close to them. And, you know, we're blue and white all the way through. My uncle was Mickey Bergstein. If any of you remember him, he used to do the color for the ball games. So, yeah.
well, thank you all for coming. And as I said, World Kitchen goes on every month on a Sunday. Check out wpsu.org to get more information. And we'd love to have you come and watch all of the World Kitchens.
Well, I would love to now that I know that. I didn't have that any place either. So maybe a little more, put something out in the Penn Stater magazine. Say, this is what we're doing.
Oh, that's Penn Stater magazine. Okay. Let's see here. Please bring the leftovers to work tomorrow, Paul.
Okay.
That was Daphne. No, Daphne, they're going to the outreach building.
Thank you very much. Daphne. And keep that good stuff coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Videos like this are made possible by support from viewers like you. If you enjoyed this video, visit wpsu.org to become a member today and help us create more content like this.